Okay, hi. So today from Fleek Gallery here, over the use of Zoom, I'm going to do a remote interview with Mark Sloper, aka Mark Illuminati, aka Illuminati Neon, and
Mark Illuminati.
Mark Illuminati. So we're going to have got a few questions for you, just a little bit of a chat, a bit of a convo about what's going on with you at the moment and your art career in general. And got one of the pieces here, one of the queens that you make, one of the prints.
Pink Queen, lovely that one.
Yeah, beautiful. Have finished, obviously.
Is that a print or glass?
This one, this one's just the print. Yeah.
A print, yeah. You got some glass ones there though. The glass ones are very nice.
Yeah, and yeah, we recently sold one to America, didn't we? Sent one to
yes, you did.
Goth one, black goth. So that was brilliant. That went.
Funny, I sold 3 big pieces to America last week. A lot goes to America.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this, weren't we? America being one of the next phases.
Big market for me,
yeah,
for sure.
Now that's awesome, and yeah, this one went to, well, not this one, but the one I sent went to Oregon. So yeah, so I really just got a bit of an intro to you, really, Mark. So just to start with, what actually kind of got you into art generally? Like,
I went to art school like loads of us when I was about 18, 19. I did my university stuff at art school in Sheffield, but I wasn't very interested in art then. Remember, I grew up with an art background, like my uncle's a famous artist in Cornwall and St Ives, where I grew up, and I kind of rejected it for a long time because I was surrounded by it, and I was surrounded by all the galleries and all, and I thought they were all a bit, and people were boring, you know, they all looked the same, very middle class art. And when I was young, I sort of rebelled against it, and as soon as I got to London, that was the last thing on my mind, doing art. But part of my art degree, I did photography, and then the photography turned into television. So I did lots of, most of my life I've spent being a TV director. And I've just tried to do things that I like. So, you know, I like my punk music, so I've made loads of punk films. You can see them on Sky, and my big passion is superbikes. So I've made lots of superbike movies, and I'm still the director at British Superbikes, which starts again in May. And I've got a new cinema film being made of that this summer, so I'm really looking forward to that. But since my kids got older, about 8, 9 years ago, it freed me up to do art again. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go back to my art, I'm just going to do stuff that I like. And my premise for art is this: I'll only ever make a piece of art that I would have on my own dining room wall. So often I take stuff home, I have it for a few weeks to sell it. But my premise and my quality standard is that I have to really like it. And without blowing my own trumpet, of course, I've just told you I was from St Ives. I have a massive Cornish art collection that was either given me, or I've collected, or I've swapped with family. So I've got all my Terry Frost, I've got an Alfred Wallace. I've got all the traditional art pieces you'd expect from Cornwall. And what's funny enough's happened is a lot of my pieces now sit very nicely amongst it. So I think I've gone in the right direction. Even that queen behind you will sit quite nicely with a Frost abstract of the harbour.
Yeah.
And they all sit in my house rather perfectly. So I'm pleased. And of course, a step further is when I sort of do the neon work and have the neon on top. It becomes a very special piece. And I'm really pleased with the way the neons have gone. Yeah. Only problem with the neon, of course, as you know, Dan, owning a gallery, is they are expensive. But they're expensive to make. They take a lot of time. It takes 10 goes often to make one piece. But they are very, very, you know, great, valuable things. And they'll. And the other nice thing is, for people that come to your gallery, is all the prices of my art have consistently, it's just gone up. So, you know, not that many people sell it on the secondary market at the moment, but, you know, I'm not of this planet for long. So, you know, in a few years, it will be worth loads. But I'll get rid of that. The neons are the way forward. They're fantastic. But I do enjoy a print. That particular print headlined my Sarchi gallery show that I did in September, when the gallery was open briefly for a few weeks. And the Sarchi gallery used that pink queen for all the literature. So it was on the posters, on the brochure, So that, and the original of that, the pink neon queen of that, really strangely sold to the Korean embassy next to Buckingham Palace. An embassy bought it. So I'm doing the right thing, I think.
Yeah.
But remember, my art roots run very deep. My uncle Eric is a very famous, typical Cornish painter, paints the bloody sea all day long, paints a few nudes. You know, a guy I grew up with, Roy Ray, now owns the art school. He taught me a lot about art. I've got lots of his pictures. And I grew up on a place called Eyre Lane. And if you know St Ives at all, the bottom of Eyre Lane is the Barbara Hepworth Museum. And there's a big wall that runs up the side of Eyre Lane. I used to skateboard down it every day with all my mates. And her gardens were over the wall. And when we played football, our footballs would always go in her garden, and we'd hop over the wall to collect them. And she'd chase us with a broom. So we used to call her Barbara the Witch when I was a kid. You're right, old evil bag. But obviously, I'd like one of her sculptures now. Funny enough, my dad's not the most honest of people, and they had a bit of a row over something, planning permission, I think. So my dad was a builder. And one night, I know his mates hopped over the wall to try to nick one of her sculptures, but they're just too big. He got it in the wheelbarrow, but he couldn't get it over the wall. I would have inherited something probably worth £1 million if he'd got it out of there. But that's what happens when you live in Cornwall, you know. Sometimes. Remember, she's from London. She's not Cornish.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, we obviously do the neon. You mentioned the neon work, which is great. I mean, I've had pieces here, as you know, and you know we've taken sent a few to people, sold a few to people. And how did the neon come about? What was it that that inspired you to get into that? Did you?
Well, the thing is, in art, I wanted to be different. I wanted to make a mark where if I'm going to spend hours and hours doing art, and perhaps try and do something different. So the art's the art. So you've got to draw the queen, paint quick, that's done. But it looks so much better with the glass neon on the top. So about 7 or 8 years ago, I met a man called Chris Bracey, and he's in London. He's called the King of Neon. And he has a beautiful place in Walthamstow called God's Own Junkyard. And everyone said, you won't get on with Chris, he's miserable, he don't talk to no one, he hates people. I said, everyone flipping loves me. I'm going to go see him. So I just bowled up his place, dragged him out of his studio, and we went for a glass of wine in Walthamstow Village, became great mates. And he says, look, anything you want to know about neon, I'll teach you. And there they are, the King of Neon, taught the Clown Prince, if you like.
I've seen pictures of, I'd love to go. I've seen pictures of God's Own Junkyard.
You should go. When next time you come to London, I'll perhaps come with you. It's just, it's a wonderful place. His son Marcus now takes it over. But Chris's thing was not so much the art of the neon. His company do a lot of the sign rides, and they do all the shop fronts, and they do all the repairs. But Chris, as he got older, like myself, decided to try and turn it more into an art form, and did very well. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he died of cancer, which was incredibly sad, because I was I was going to do some projects with him, and it wasn't to be. But he taught me everything I need to know about neon in order to plonk it onto a picture. I say plonk. It takes hours and hours and hours.
Well, it's fantastic work. I love it. And
no, it's really nice. It comes out good.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier as well, recently you've had the connection with Sarchi, haven't you? And
yes,
you've had a show there and everything. And how did that come about again? What was it that brought that about?
There's a Sarchi Gallery. Have different events on each year, and when I did it, first time I did it a couple of years ago, they try and find the best emerging artists in the world. So they have maybe 70 to 80 artists from all over the world: America, Japan, Korea, China, and they always have different focuses. And I submitted to the organisers, or a little committee, and they loved my work. They'd never really done neon before, so I did a big neon display. I sold everything, and then this year they asked me back, but asked me back in a bigger way for a bigger presence, and to front the show up, to headline it,
right,
which was pretty fantastic. So it's done me a lot of good, obviously, because I've got a lot of pieces of work now that have been on Sarchi walls, but all those ones are sold. They've gone.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. And so I just at the moment, how do you kind of view the art world as we both know is so, it changes so quickly. There's always something happening. There's always new movements. There's, you know, how do you kind of view things at the moment?
It's an awful. I'm terribly loudmouthed about it. I mean, obviously, some people like my work, some people don't. But I find it all a bit boring instead, to be honest with you. I mean, I go into so many galleries. The next time I see an abstract, a picture of the sea, or a picture of a horse in a field, I feel like killing myself. I mean, it just seems to be in this impasse where it's not like moving on, and I don't understand. I mean, we had all that stuff years ago with the Damien Hirsts and the Tracy Emmons, but there doesn't seem, and the Chapmans I like, there doesn't seem to be a new movement. It just seems to be little bits, and a lot of the street art stuff is real nonsense, and a lot of stuff, you know, I was in a town called Bath just before the lockdown at Christmas.
Did you say Bath?
Bath, yeah, and I was wandering around there. I was wandering around having a look in some art galleries, and I thought, you know, if there's something I like, I would buy it. No way, I was way off. There was absolutely nothing. I was quite surprised because I do buy art, and I was like, I don't want a picture of a horse, and I don't want to see another sea, and don't want to see another scene of the sea, which you'll know very well about from your neighbouring galleries.
I suppose it's, you know, again, it's personal preference, isn't it? I have myself, I've took a mixture of all sorts of things.
You do. It's a nice gallery. It's got lots of different bits, but I don't know what to really. I mean, what happens with art is, you know, I'm not stuck in the past, but I refer to a certain period of time, which is the punk era, because at least it was a bit anarchic and a bit chaotic and a bit fun. And obviously, I'm a great fan of the big punk artist Jamie Reed that I know him pretty good, and I've got all his works. So I'm just trying, for me, you know, I'll move that stuff on. So I don't stick in the past though. I mean, my latest picture, I've just done a huge 6-foot picture of Lemmy from Motorhead in tribute to Lemmy, because he was someone I knew. I had many times I'd been out for drinks with him. So that was in tribute to Lemmy, and I've just done a new Amy Winehouse picture. It's called the Black Flag series, where I dye the Union Jacks jet black, and then I place them. I, you know, hand oil paint portraits of them and put the neon on at the end, and they've come out really brilliant. That's in my new collection. And
well, obviously, music plays a huge part in your work. Doesn't it?
Everything's got some reference to music. Even sometimes when I've given you simple neons, which are just lyrics, they're all from songs that I like. And they all have a story. They're all, you know, I think you have did you have a Frank Sinatra one from me?
Yes, Come Fly With Me. That one we've got,
When I was younger, I spent a week with Frank Sinatra as his right-hand man at the Royal Albert Hall. So he sort of took me under his wing for a week and told me what was what. So that little one's just a tribute to someone I knew growing up. So,
and music was your sort of initial introduction to this, I suppose, the creative world, was it? I remember you saying something about you kind of were introduced on stage at one point. You were introducing a band on stage, weren't you?
Yeah, when I was about, I met them when I was 11, which seems ridiculous in this day and age, but when I was 12, I was the mascot for Adam and the Ants, and I used to introduce them on stage. I used to run away from school, and I'd go and meet them on the M4 somewhere, hop in the minibus and just go off with my little leather jacket. I never had no money, no food, and and I used to blag it at the school. I was lucky in the sense that my dad had left home and that my mum was in a mental institution, so no one really knew where I was. So it was quite I was quite feral as a child, to say the least.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose at that age as well, things are so impressionable, aren't they? And the people around us and stuff. And so, did you?
Yeah,
I mean,
but what also happens is the good people, like for instance that band Adam and the Ants. I'm still really good friends with the bass guitarist Andy Warren that used to look after me, and they literally did look after me. They made sure I was fed, I had somewhere to stay. I felt safer with them than I did, like, not having anywhere to live at home, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to mention to my younger brother, actually, he's a huge Adam and the Ants fan. He's a massive Adam and the Ants fan. I'll have to tell him about this.
Well, you can also tell him that the drummer, the original drummer, is called Dave Barbarossa, who then went on to be in a band called Bow Wow Wow, has just rented one of my studios to do drum lessons.
Wow, brilliant! Oh, that's it. That's so cool. Yeah, and they do up their drumming. Actually, I remember when I went for a drumming weekend somewhere. That was in Glastonbury years ago, and the guy who ran it was talking about the Adam and the Ants and their drumming techniques.
They were fantastic. They used Burundi drums.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so, is there one particular song that stands out to you in your life that was had an impact on you? You know, sort of.
Well, funny enough, just last night I've got this new app, Amazon Music, and it's amazing. For £3 a month, you can tap in, find any record. It's a huge library, and you do it all through your Alexa. So I was having dinner last night, and I was a bit bored, so I thought, and I just had been speaking to old Dave Barbarossa up the end, and last night I played an album called, it was not one specific song, but an album, and obviously Never Mind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols is probably my favourite album of all time. But second to that is Dirk Wears White Socks, the original Adam and the Ants. And it stands up today. It's such a clever album, and it's so well recorded that it just sounded fantastic on my new stereo. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
Course, I know all the words backwards, you know, so everyone gets me singing me head off in the house.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I've noticed there's been one or two kind of film references in one or two. Is there any particular films that stand out to you? Does that play a big part in your work, do you think, generally?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I first moved to London, my very first job in London, I was working for two friends then, Ray and Dominic. And my very first movie that I worked on was the Craze film with the Spandau brothers.
Right, yeah.
Brothers. That was the first job I had in London. And they remained my friends and kept me going and gave me loads of work through the years. But of course, it was the Spandau Ballet guys, and I don't really like their music, but they sort of became friends with them. But yeah, I love films, and films are an influence. And you know, I'm always looking to. When you see my neon lyrics, they'll either be film related or music related, and I want them to make you smile and I want you to think about them. So I'm quite you know, they're quite.
Yeah, I mean, I often say you can kind of tell when an artist has really enjoyed making a piece of work. It comes through the work, and I get that from you. You get real joy and pleasure out of actually making and coming up with the idea.
My biggest joy is not actually selling the work. Selling the work's great, and you have to do that. My biggest joy is when I see it on people's walls.
Yeah,
I love that. I just really like it. I think it's just fantastic that someone as basic as myself can have a picture on someone's wall, and I really, really love that. I mean, I've got a picture right next to me here that's going to America. I've had to change the electrics in it. I'm waiting for it to be collected, but that's my third or fourth one in a couple of weeks that's gone to the United States. Like, you know, little me, and it's gone to the United States. It's just fantastic. Yeah. But remember, Dan, there's always great stories behind my pieces.
Yeah.
And this is a London Calling, which of course is not. Keep that. It's not about the Clash. It's about Lord Haw during the war, who was working for Hitler, who was a traitor. We hung him in 1946. But he used to break into our radio waves and go, "London Calling, London Calling."
Right.
Everyone sees my London Calling. They think it's about the Clash.
Yeah.
Stuff the Clash.
Oh well, it plays on both, doesn't it? So you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, that's something that I've found with these Queen pieces that we've sold. You know, both. It sits on both sides of the fence, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, it plays very nicely.
Yeah, well, for me, I like it because it reminds me of the Sex Pistols time and the Pistols and Jamie Reid. For other people, they just like it, one, because they're pretty, and I've made the Queen look very beautiful. She's never looked like that.
Yeah. No, it's great fun.
It's like manipulated in Photoshop.
Yeah. Well, it's great. It is great fun, and it's great stuff, Mark. You know, as you know, I'm a big fan of your work, and I love selling it and exhibiting it, and you know, people come in and they really enjoy it. So
good.
And so yeah, no, that's awesome. I think okay. Well, this was the first time we've done this, and we'll hopefully do another one. It'd be great to talk to you more. I've got more, you know, there's always more questions.
What we'll try and do next time, I use a different device, and I'll try and show you some of the art, you know, around the studio. I've always got lots here. And
so just quickly then, so we'll just before we, because I think we've got, I think we're going to wrap up soon, but what's next for Mark Illuminati then? What's the next?
There's another Sarchi show I've been asked to go to in May.
Brilliant.
And then I'm, it doesn't affect Dan because you're down in Ilfracombe, but there's a national chain of galleries of literally, they've bought 80 pieces.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So I'm making them, and it's obviously they're not all original. I mean, I'm going to do 5 London Callings, I'm going to do 5 of this, 5 of that, 5 of this sex, drugs and rock and roll next to me.
Yeah.
And they're going to give me a big PR agency, so hopefully I'll be all over your newspapers again soon, annoying everyone.
Oh, brilliant stuff, Mark. Well, it's great to see you, and just really pleased for you. Let's go.
I'm coming. I'll be down in Devon as soon as I can get somewhere to stay after April. I'll come down with the dog again.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. Things start trucking and moving, and you know, get back on track again, and things can start happening. And I'll be coming up to London at some point, so
okay, mate.
Hang out. And yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. I know you've got really busy schedule, so I really appreciate it, mate. That's fantastic. And,
thanks, Dan.
Yeah, no worries. It's lovely to see you, and thanks. Yeah, thanks, Mark, and take care, mate. We'll talk again soon. So, cheers.